Hey everybody, Rhadamant here. This video is going to go over the gameplay mechanics of the new DLC for RimWorld called Royalty. Let's get into it. For starters, if you want to play the Royalty DLC, you're going to have to buy it. It's running at about $20 US on the Steam store. It is coming to GOG soon, according to Ludion Studios. In order to start a Royalty game, any of the default scenarios will do. If you want to make sure that you are in a Royalty game, go to your Factions tab in the bottom right, and up here you should see a Shattered Empire with a High Stellarch. There are two ways to gain access to the additions that Royalty DLC adds. One is to go hostile with the Royal faction and steal their technology and steal their psionic abilities, or two, build up favor with them. Raiding their bases is fairly straightforward, just like it was in base RimWorld. The only difference is the raiders here will have particularly high-tech weapons and armor, making it a little bit more difficult than a standard raid. Additionally, keep in mind that the vast majority of the enemies will have death acidifiers on them, meaning that if they die, they end up melting their entire gear, whereas if they get downed, they will not. Once you've defeated them, you can have access to their high-tech hoard of gear. Now, what you see here is actually less rewards than normally I would get, only because my 3 attackers and my colony value is not that high. But here is, for instance, a plasma sword, which is not yet bio-coded, or a Psi-Focus helmet. One of the main dangers of being a rogue psionic, if you decide you want psionic powers, but you don't want to curry favor with the royals, is they will hunt you down. Basically, the implants implanted in your brain to grant psionic abilities also makes it very easy for the royals to find you and hunt you. One way to avoid this is something called a psychic silencer. A psychic silencer is something that you might be able to find on the black market trying to buy it, or as a quest reward. And when implanted, it will hide the emissions of the psionic amplifier that's in your brain, but it does cause a sizable amount of pain. This is one way that you can go rogue with the royals and not have to suffer from constant royal attacks. This video is mostly going to be focused on currying favor with the royals because there's a lot more content there than the inverse, so let me get back to that. If you want to be offered quests in order to build up favor with the royals, go to the quest tab here, and at the bottom, make sure to accept mission offers that actually increase royal favor. Otherwise, you're just going to be giving quests to increase reputation instead. This here is a pretty typical starting quest given by the seers in order to build up some favor. So let's take a look. The Praetor is asking us to build a 3x3 limestone and steel monument. It has to be completed within 8 days, and doing so will build up 7 royal favor. If we accept this quest, we get to pick which of these characters will actually gain that favor. In this instance, I'm going to do it with Admiral. So here we have the monument marker that was generated from the quest, and we get to choose where we want to build the monument. Monuments sometimes are required to stay constructed and not damaged or destroyed for a duration, but not for this one. Once we place the monument, it shows us the materials that are used in this monument, the linked quest associated with this monument, and then also we can click Place Blueprints, and it generates the blueprints to construct the monument. And we're going to quickly watch as Raptor throws this monument together. Or rather, goes for a little bit of a stroll. Alright, here we go. Now that the monument is constructed, Admiral has gone from no rank and no title with the Royal faction to flying past Freeholder and actually being granted the title of Yeoman. As a title of Yeoman, the quest reward is a cyclic amplifier as well. So if we take a look here, Admiral has the title of Yeoman. Yeoman requires a total favor of 7, and the quest I just completed was for 7. You can rank all the way up from Freeholder, which is a favor of 1, up to Count. Many of the tiers here also increase the level of Psychic Amplifier that you are allowed. The higher level of Psychic Amplifier that you have, the more strong the abilities that you are granted. So let's go ahead and learn this. Learning this gives you a random ability, a random level 1 ability, and the one I got is Burden. Using Burden costs 8 entropy. I have a pool of 30 entropy. My entropy falls 20 every 30 seconds. And what Burden does, it takes a quarter of a second to cast, it lasts 8 seconds, and it will basically lower brain function for an enemy for 30 seconds, the full duration. So let's go ahead and use this. I can use this on my own people without terrible consequences, whereas, of course, if I use this on an enemy, it will, if I use it on an ally, it will cause them hostile. And if I use it on an enemy, that's exactly what we want. It also requires that the target have psychic sensitivity. Alright, so here we go. Here is Burden. So Can here is psychically burdened, and as you can see, his moving speed went from 100% to 40%. After casting it, my psychic entropy climbed up from 0 to 30. Now, you can click this little limiter. What the limiter does is, with it on, it keeps your psychic entropy below the max of 30. You are allowed to go above the max. The only reason I would do this is if it was fairly certain that the psychic person was going to die anyway, because when you increase past your cap, you can suffer long-term health consequences. And then, of course, as time goes on, the psychic entropy declines. There's other ways in the game, not, of course, with the ability pool that I have right now, to increase your psychic pool with gear and with other abilities. And then after you cast, you're going to get a psychic hangover. It takes a little bit long to form, but once it fully forms, it is much like a drug hangover, but instead for psychic abilities, where you will have sort of a negative consciousness, moving, manipulation, talking, eating. So you don't want to just use your psychic abilities willy-nilly. You want to use them when you know you need them, and not just for convenience. There is a huge variety of different quests that you can find to increase your favor with the royals. I'm not going to go over every single possible combination, but I just wanted to highlight some. You can have quests to take care of animals for a certain period of time. You could have quests to shelter certain aristocrats. Now, the reason I can't accept this quest is I'm going to be sheltering a praetor, and a praetor has requirements where their bedroom needs to be at least 24 tiles and have the impressiveness of 50 and be all floored and be a double bed with an end table and dresser. I don't need to fulfill their throne room requirements. When a guest is visiting you, they will need a bedroom, but not a throne room. Now, the reason to have a throne room is when your own people rank up a little bit higher. So, for instance, if my yeoman, Admiral here, goes from a yeoman, let's say, up to an esquire or a knight, he's going to start making demands. And I'll show you that in just a second. So I've just made my Admiral here a knight instead. So here he is at Knight 0, flying past Esquire. He has been given one more Cyclic Amplifier. This has unlocked the ability of Blinding Pulse. This is a random ability. Now, Blinding Pulse reduces the sight of enemies within the radius. As you can see, it has a pretty good range. And it only, of course, works on psychic ability sensitivities. When you use it, here you go, you can see sight down to 50%. But that's not what I wanted to show you. What I really wanted to show you is, because of his title, he requires a special bedroom, he requires special food, and he requires a throne room. Now, if we go into his rank here, his bedroom would be 24 tiles, an impressiveness of 40. His throne room would need to be 30 tiles, impressiveness of 60, and all these other requirements as well. So let's get that done. So here we have a bedroom and a throne room that meet the requirements of Admiral's demands. The throne room at this level requires 2 columns, 2 braziers that are both lit, a harp, a throne, and because he has a throne, what this allows him to do is to sit on the throne and gain authority. Authority is very much like recreation, but for royal title holders. As they sit on the throne, their authority climbs, and they are given a mood buff of strong authority or total authority. As their authority declines because their throne room is not usable or because they're busy with other tasks, they will get a negative mood modifier, which makes it harder to keep them happy. Another thing to note is, as a knight, he also requires to have certain clothing, for instance, a ruffle shirt or a top hat. He also requires to no longer eat packaged survival meals, but will only eat fine meals and other things like that. More or less, the breakdown is, the higher the title, the more demanding your character becomes. They will also become incapable of certain tasks. So if we go to the work tab, Admiral used to be able to haul and clean, but he no longer can do the hauling and cleaning work because if we take a look at the dumb labor here, he is incapable of dumb labor because he has the knight title. The higher your character levels up in title, the more abilities they will refuse to do. At maximum title, which would be Count or Countess, they are going to refuse to do literally everything except for wardening, except for social skills. Which means I would highly advise, if you do plan on working at rank, the person you put the rank on should, in fact, have a burning passion in wardening or in social and be very skilled at it. This is also because, if you take a look, to be able to trade with the faction, let's say we want to trade with Umbo, it requires you to have a title of Knight or Dame at least, meaning that Can and Raptor literally cannot trade with this faction, only Admiral can. Once again, reinforcing the requirement for a high social skill. On top of that, your leader, your title holder, in this case a knight, will periodically give speeches in the throne room. And the outcome of the speeches are determined much by a little bit of chance, but much by the social skill of your leader. And if you have high social skills, you can have inspiring or encouraging speeches to be able to add positive mood modifiers to your characters. Whereas, of course, if you have a low social skill, or if you critically fail at your encouraging speech, you'll have a negative mood modifier. Let me demonstrate that here for you now. So here we have Admiral in the middle of a speech. There's a little bit of a tooltip here telling you that, of course, it is dependent upon his social skill. And if it goes well, everybody gains a little bit of a boost and respect for Admiral. And if it goes poorly, it will do some social damage. And let's see what this outcome is, with Admiral sitting at a social of 8, an employable professional. As you can see at the end of the speech, finishing the speech, it was remarkably inspiring, full of intensity and purpose. So if we check these characters, inspirational speech for 8 days with a +8, and Raptor gains that as well. Everybody that attends gains it. The next feature I want to go over is tech printing and the new research tree. So as you can see in my throne room, I have this new item called a harp. This is a recreation item. It also produces music when people play at it. And if you take a look at the research tree, here it is under complex furniture, a harp, and then eventually, depending on your rank, you're going to be required to get a harpsichord and sometimes a full-fledged piano. These are made on the art bench now, but I really wanted to go over to tech printing. So tech printing is a new style of unlocking technology that actually requires a little bit of investment. Here, as you can see, brain wiring. Brain wiring doesn't look like it has any prerequisites that are unfinished. I do have prosthetics and microelectronics, but I do not have the tech print applied. The tech print is a blueprint that you can buy, find, trade for. In order to use a tech print, you would take your researcher, in this case Admiral, and right-click on the tech print here for brain wiring and apply it. Then Admiral is going to walk over to the high-tech research bench and imprint the tech print onto the bench. So also keep in mind, watch his skills. He's 4730 towards next level, and now he's 7730, let's call it, to next level, because when applying the tech print, he gained experience. And because he has a burning passion, he gained more than he would have without that burning passion. So now that I have that tech print applied, I'd be able to research brain wiring. Now, brain wiring includes joy wire and pain stopper, which you should be familiar with, but also mind screw, which applies pain, very much the opposite of a pain stopper. It applies 20% pain. Let's go over some of the other ones. So you have compact weaponry. These are body parts that are built into your body. So an elbow blade, for instance. Installing an elbow blade gives you a hidden blade in your elbow, used for devastating attacks, or a hand talon, very much the same kind of weapon here, or a knee spike. These upgrade with poison synthesis to venom fangs. As you can see here, it is poisonous fangs in your mouth, or venom talons. Very much the same idea, but with a middle finger. Specialized limbs. These ones are interesting. So they dramatically reduce your ability to do everything else but what they're built for. So a drill arm gives you a really, really good miner. It also adds a little bit of damage and armor pen, even when unarmed. A field hand is just like the drill arm, but for farm work. They get a huge boost of plant work speed, but the body part is less efficient. It isn't as damaging as the drill arm. And then, of course, the power claw that you're used to, it has 100% efficiency and higher damage. Moving on to some other tech prints. Before I move on, let's go over some of the other research that has been added. We've got royal apparel and noble apparel. Your character will demand wearing noble and royal apparel or psionic clothing, one or the other. Now, you can't make psionic clothing, but you can make the noble and royal apparel. Other research, the long blades now includes a warhammer. Plate armor is a prerequisite for flak armor. I don't know if that was the case in RimWorld 1.0. You've also got some new weapons I've highlighted in the 1.1 video, like the smoke launcher or the EMP launcher. Other research in here would be up here, towards the end here. You've got some additional cataphract armor. So this is even better than marine armor, but comes with a dramatic move speed deficit. And cataphract helmet, same deal. Very good coverage. Actually, it doesn't have the move speed. These are sort of the top tier armor. When you attack late game, when you attack a royal settlement, you're going to see a lot of cataphracts. This also requires 2 tech prints, whereas all the other locked tech print stuff requires only the 1. Now, for bionics, you have bionic replacements of arms, ears, eyes, heart, legs, spine, stomach. Sort of the usual. But on top of that, you have 3 different types of stomachs. You have the detoxifier, which makes it very difficult to get food poisoning. You've got the nuclear stomach. The nuclear stomach is interesting. It actually dramatically reduces your food intake. So basically, you're sort of not eating. But it raises the risk of cancer. And then the reprocessor stomach, which is just an efficient stomach. Then neural computation, which one gives you a additional global learning factor, and the other one gives you an additional learning speed. You've got flesh shaping, which is an aesthetic nose, so it's a nose replacement for all the people that have shattered noses, and it adds a little bit of beauty. Aesthetic shaper, which if when installing the aesthetic shaper, it basically makes you more beautiful, changes your sort of body shape. And then the love enhancer, which is, I guess, a way for, I won't go into that. You can dig into that if you want. All right, Some healing factors, so Healing Enhancer, which increases the natural healing rate, and the Coagulator, which makes you bleed more slowly. Then you also have Skin Hardening. You've got Armor Skin, which dramatically reduces your move speed and makes you less beautiful, but increases your armor. You've got Stone Skin, which does the same thing, but even to a greater degree. And Tough Skin Gland, which doesn't have the beauty problem, but does give you a little bit of armor on top of that. Molecular Analysis, which is the gastroanalyzer. It makes cooking a little bit faster, and it doesn't have any sort of beauty thing, so this is good if someone loses a nose and they also are a cook. Or the Immunoenhancer, which gives them a boost to immunity gain speed. So if you, for instance, have a sickly character, this would be a very good thing to have. Circadian Influence. So the Assistant reduces the rate at which you become tired by 20% at no penalty. And the Half Cycler, which reduces your total consciousness, but you never need to sleep, which is interesting. And that about covers all of the tech printing. In Royalty, you also have new sets of melee weapons, and I want to go over those now. So you have your, let's call it non-magically imbued weapons, your Warhammer and your axe. Warhammer and axes are just an additional weapons, much like the Gladius or the Longsword. Then you have sort of your magical weapons or high-tech weapons. So you have a Zeus Hammer. A Zeus Hammer drops an EMP attack when you melee with it. You've got the Monosword, which has incredibly high armor penetration, which allows you to kill mechanoids and high-armored targets very efficiently. You've got the Plasma Sword, which inflicts some burning damage, setting corpses on fire when you down them, so on and so forth. And then you also have the Psi-Focus Staff, which is a pretty terrible melee weapon, but it does increase your entropy recovery rate and your psychic sensitivity, allowing you to use more psychic abilities. Now, I don't want to spoil all of the possible attacks that you're going to face in the Royalty mod, but what I can tell you is a lot of them include mechs. A lot of the quests that you're going to undertake are going to send mechs to come fight you, and they might include capsules that have mechs hidden inside, proximity activators or countdown activators for when the mechs are going to go live or when you get too close to them, or items that affect the map tile, in this case a psychic droner, which affects everybody within not only this colony, but about 15 tiles on the world map as well. Additionally included in the Royalty mod is a new way to actually win the entire game. This includes hosting a very high up in the Royalty faction, making sure that their mood is good, taking care of their guards, and then defending against the swarms of enemies that would want to take her down. At the end of hosting her, which is a 15-day duration, much like the reactor charge-up, you get to leave on her shuttle if you wish. This video was only just a little brief overview of what you're going to find in the Royalty mod. Just to recap, it includes new skills, sonic abilities, an entire new rep system called Royal Favor, new titles. It also has weapons and armor and enemies, a lot of new events. The whole quest engine has been redone. It includes a new way to win the game. And then it also includes a beautiful new soundtrack, which I find absolutely charming. Now, I'm going to have a YouTube series coming out soon that is actually a Let's Play running through vanilla Royalty mod, and I will dig far deeper into the gameplay mechanics included in that, if that interests you. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback, let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I hope this video has helped you. Adios!